Do you want to read something from Nobel Prize winners Randomized Banerjee and Duflo and co-authors? Well, this is the article you might be interested in. It's a 2015 article published in Science. So this is one of the best, in my view, in development economics, because you know afterwards what you could do to fight poverty. So this is interesting stuff. It's about 6 RCTs that have been conducted in 6 countries: Ethiopia, Ghana, Honduras, India, Pakistan, and Peru, with an overall sample of more than 10,000 participants. So in each site, the implementation partners selected eligible villages based on being in geographies associated with extreme poverty, and then identified the poorest of the poor in these villages, and these poorest of the poor got a treatment. So about half of the eligible participants were assigned to treatment and half to control. And the treatment was a bundle of different measures. So the bundle consisted out of a productive asset grant. So they got access to an asset such as a goat, and also training and support, life skills coaching, a temporary cash consumption support, and also access to savings accounts and health information services. So this was the bundle. So the treatment was a multi-faceted program. So the nice thing here is that now we know what works, because at the end of the intervention, they found statistically significant impacts on all 10 key outcomes. So these are the 10 key outcomes, right? And they find statistically significant effects, and the effect size is measured in standard deviations of the control group, and here you see the standardized set scores, and all of these effects are statistically significant. The overall insight of that graduation program is that all targets were achieved, and this program turned even out to be cost effective after 1 year. So the benefits are higher than the cost, at least in 5 out of 6 sites. So this is really good news, and for those who are interested in to go through the whole paper, might remain here and continue to watch the video. So the main idea is to come up with a, how they call that, a big push. And with that big push, they want to get people out of poverty. And the big push consists out of 6 activities. And the productive asset is the most interesting activity here. In that bundle of 6, I already mentioned the other ones, but the asset transfer is a core component here. And this asset transfer deviates from country to country, or from site to site. So that might be sheep, goats, chicken, cattle, whatever. So that depends really on the country, what they've chosen. So for Germany, for example, for the very poor, a notebook and free access to wireless LAN might be one of these assets, right? But in these countries, the assets are sheep, goats, chicken, cattle, to get these people to take their lives into their own hands. So let me share a couple of details of the experimental methods. Here, randomization was conducted at the household level within each village. And one side, Ghana, had a more complex design. Don't want to go through that. But what we can see is that randomization has been taking place by either using a computer or via a public lottery. The timeline might be also interesting because it takes a lot of time to conduct a randomized controlled trial and to come up with results. So data collection before the program activities started, then some baseline interviews on the target group, then they got the treatment here, so that's t equals 0. So it took about half a year to get the treatment to people. So the asset transfer, the consumption support, then they did short service here, and then they had 2 interviews, and line 1 after 2 years and line 2 after 3 years. What you typically do after having assigned target group either to the treatment group or to the control group, that you check the integrity of your experimental design. First, you look at the t-tests for equality of means, saying what you test is the H0, that the mean of the program group and the mean of the control group with respect to several characteristics, that this hypothesis cannot be rejected at the 5% level. So what they come up with is a p-value of 68.9%. So saying that you cannot reject the null of equality between these 2 groups. As we know, several biases might play a role in an RCT design. So one is attrition bias. So what about survey attrition? So this turned out to be pretty fine, right? Only a few people didn't show up anymore. The same is true with respect to compliance. So here we have 2 issues: the treatment group dropout bias and the control group substitution bias, right? So these might be 2 compliance issues, and it can be shown that this was not a real issue here. So in fact, no control group received the program. So once you were assigned to the control group, dummy variable is set to 0, then you really did not get the program. That's how we formally come up with that. And all treatment households received the program. So if you're assigned to the treatment group, dummy variable is set to 1, then you really get the treatment, right? And this is what we would like to see here. However, in India, some individuals refused participation. So 52% of those selected in the randomization participated in the program, and that might lead to biased results. And this is the main reason why they focused on the ITT rather than the ATT, the intent to treat. And so they compare households assigned to control group to those assigned to the treatment, irrespective of whether they received the treatment or not. That's how we define the ITT effect. So technically this is an OLS regression with the outcome variable on the left hand side and the assignment dummy on the right-hand side, so that the causal effect is the beta 1 hat, as we are already familiar with. In addition, they control for some country effects and survey effects and stratification. So saying they control for some other factors by inserting dummy variables, so kind of fixed effects here, and just to control for something that might influence the causal effect. So what about results here? What you see is, I don't want to go into that Q-value issue, but what you see is that the outcomes of families have improved in the treatment group, and to which extent. So the effect is 0.12 of a standard deviation of the control group. So this is roughly 5% of the control group mean. So the control group, right, as a mean outcome, let's say that's the control group mean outcome, X bar control group, and the control group distribution has a certain standard deviation, and this is 0.12 of the standard deviation of the control group mean, and this is a quite large effect. And here you see the standardized mean treatment effect on consumption once again. So these are this 0.12 of a standard deviation, which is highly significant because the estimated standard error is pretty small. So thumb of rule is twice the estimated standard error, and if this one is smaller and equal to the estimated regression coefficient, then this is the rule of thumb. So this effect is highly significant. So the number in parentheses is the estimated standard error, and the rule of thumb tells us twice the estimated standard errors is the upper limit of the regression coefficient, and beyond that, according to the rule of thumb, beyond that the regression coefficients gets highly significant. So if the regression coefficient, the estimated regression coefficient beta 1 hat would be exactly twice times 0.023, then this regression coefficient would be then exactly significant on a 5% level. However, as we can see, this would be then 0.046, right? But the regression coefficient is much larger. So this is just how we could read the standard errors in comparison with the estimated regression coefficient without referring to t-values, because this is typically not done anymore, referring to t-values. I want to be brief with respect to the discussion, but what is pretty often highlighted now is the mechanism that drives the result, right? And so therefore they refer to the mechanism that underlie the positive impact. So what exactly happens there? And what they see is that a time-limited big push, right? That was the idea I already mentioned, the big push with a bundle of treatments might that lead to a sustained increase consumption and increase income. And one way to think about the effect of a big push is through the lens of the large, primarily theoretical literature on poverty traps. And in such models, the combination of constraints and incentives faced by the poor act to keep them in place, ensuring that any small improvement in their well-being quickly dissipates. So that's a little bit referring to the theory and reflecting the mechanism that drives a result. So this is what is meanwhile done, and you should be familiar with it.